All right, welcome. We're going to call the Dunn County Facilities Committee to order at 5:01 PM. We are in room 60 of the Dunn County Government Center. And so the call of the roll, we are all present. Next, we have approval of the previous meeting minutes. Anyone want to make a motion?
I got a comment about the minutes.
Oh, first,
Yep, I don't know what's the.
I think we need to approve
Okay, yeah.
or make the motion and then we can discuss.
Move that. Approve the minutes.
Okay, Supervisor Prochnow and Lyon. All right, so discussion?
At the Fair Board meeting on Monday night, of course, there are excited about the mural on which they consider part of the fairgrounds, so they're really making a strong recommendation, of a historical fair mural, on that white building. And even using that area then maybe in the future for some judging. It's been an area that hasn't been used. So, just basically said, well, it's on our fairgrounds. We had the mural should be above the fairgrounds. So I'm just passing that along.
Thank you. I think they may only have a couple designs left, so I don't know that we'll have a choice, but I will pass that along. All right, anything else?
Oh, I have a correction.
Okay.
It's Lion singular. No S on the end. And I do appreciate that my full name is used.
Oh, don't have
It's down under.
the amended
7A.
motion?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else? You can make a friendly correction, right?
Yes, absolutely. Not holding up for that.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so I will call the question. So all in favor of approving the meeting minutes from our last meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the motion passes. Public comment? I think this is all for our item 5B or most, right? 5B, okay. So then we'll move on to 5A, which is discussion of sound mitigation with Red Cedar Racing. So I think that's Mark, if you
Yep.
come, thank you for coming.
Yep.
At least I know how to run this, right? Well, good evening, supervisors. Appreciate the opportunity to come in front of you tonight and give you an update on where the Red Cedar Speedway is with the plan to work on sound mitigation at the Red Cedar Speedway during racing events that happen there on a weekly basis, usually, hopefully between first part of May through the end of August. Although this year we raced 10 times the whole season. So should have been a pretty quiet summer, I guess, that way, as far as that goes. So, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and share with you some updates. As you know, at the last meeting I was here, I mentioned that we were working with a company out of Chanhassen, Minnesota called Gorsuch Performance Solutions. Travis Gorsuch is the owner. Travis's business, if you looked him up online, would be in performance enhancement activities, but he has a historic background as an engineer working with sound mitigation throughout his career. So he was someone that was accessible to us, and so we reached out to have him try to help us with this project as far as giving us direction on ways that we could possibly go. Okay. So from that, he has communicated with us and given us some options that I'm going to put forth in front of the group here for you to continue to have dialogue about, and help give us directive on what direction and kind of where we're at with some of the movement with some of these options. Okay. So one of the first, things I'll mention is that a great way to mitigate the sound would be to create a huge mound of dirt around the racetrack. Okay. I think we all know that that would be a difficult thing to get approved with the city and that kind of thing. And aesthetically, I'm not sure what that would really look like in town. But that is one option. Okay. Another option that we looked into and he shared with us was a company out of Canada called HD Eco Wall. Okay. And they create walls that it was mentioned before that when you travel down, especially up in the Twin Cities area, you're traveling along the freeways, you see the large wooden walls and some of them are rock and stuff. Um, and I know that was mentioned as something for us to look at the last time I was here. So I brought that up to Travis and he turned me on to this company and they make them out of used tires. So it's a rubber wall, okay, which is, it's formed and it looks like brick. I have pictures on my phone if anyone would like to see them. They come in 10-foot long sections and they're about 2 feet tall and 3 inches thick. And they're very, you can get them in 5 different colors. And they are very friendly to the climate that we live in. So they can take freezing, they can take rain, they can handle high wind speeds as far as the putting them together and installing them. They're fairly simple to install, and it's like I said, it's made out of recycled rubber, so it's a sound absorbing. Okay, which I think is part of what we're all after here. Okay. So that's an option. I plan to reach out to them and just get a price on what this costs. Obviously, that's a major player in what we're doing here for all of us involved. The next couple options would be wooden signage, okay, where we would put posts in the ground and put up wooden signage. And then the benefits to that is the ability for us to sell advertisement to help offset the cost of what this project would cost. Okay, where we could sell sponsorships and that kind of thing. The other option that we looked into we are currently working on figuring out what the wooden situation would cost. Okay. The other option is aluminum recycled road signs. Okay, so within the state of Wisconsin, there's a mandate on how long on the state highways that signage can be up before it has to be replaced. I'm guessing it has to do again with the effects our weather have on it, whether it's wind or freezing hot, that kind of thing. But anyway, we're working with Madison Construction out of Knapp, and talking to them about what do you do with the signs when you take them down and replace them via the state mandate. And so when we talked to them, we asked them what it would cost us per square foot, and it's $18 a square foot. So it's fairly expensive, but again, if we are able to sell signage, sponsorships, that would help offset that cost. Okay. What's the difference between wood and aluminum? Okay. The difference is that with wood, you're going to get some sound absorption. Okay. And obviously deflection and sending it up into the sky rather than down the streets and stuff like that. Okay. With aluminum, you're going to get mostly deflection. Okay. So that's where we're at. Part of that plan, though, with that system, be it wood or aluminum, would be we're looking into shrubbery that we could put on top of the walls in the corners, which is where most of the sound comes from, because that's where the cars are most actively accelerating and decelerating. And so we're looking into shrubbery where we're looking for something that would build us 3 to 5 feet. We're not looking at trees going way up in the sky where the trunk obviously is where the most of the sound is, and it's just empty there, empty space basically. And something that we could put signage above that's not going to continually grow and cost a lot of time and effort to trim and those kinds of things. And there's lots of different options out there. So we are looking into what is the best. We would be looking at something that is what we call in bloom year round. So more of a pine type plant of some kind, shrubbery, okay? Rather than something that has leaves and the leaves fall off. And when we race, you know, in April and the leaves haven't come out yet, and something that can take some abuse, you know, from dirt particles that will fly into it at times. So that would help us absorb sound and then get into the possibly the wood signage, and where there'd be more absorption and more deflection. So yeah, those are some of the things. And then we are working on getting measurements, you know, for how big these signs would be, as far as the space they would cover around the corners. What's the best location? I think it would be good for us to work with Austin, you know, and the crew down at the park, you know, to make sure we are looking at doing it in the area where it'll be most effective for what the purpose of it is, and also aesthetically look proper, and then be user friendly to other entities that are using the park, you know, be it a concert, the fair obviously is very active, and other things that may come forward down the road here. So we don't want to put something that's out there and in the way of a lot of different things. So so that's where we're at. Again, what I can tell you is that at our last racing meeting, we had more discussion about this. It's continuously on our agenda. We just got to get bottom line numbers on pricing now that we've got good direction and guidance on what types of materials to look at. Now it's a matter of finishing up with getting pricing on things. So like I said, I'm going to reach out to this HD Eco Wall, find out what that cost looks like, and then be able to report that back. And I'll probably try to, I don't know what you guys want, but obviously I can report it to Austin and to you, Ann, and you can bring it forward to the group, and we'll come back anytime that you would like us to update you. So any questions for me?
I'm curious, so Travis
Gorsuch.
Gorsuch,
Yep.
right? He said that the best option would be like berms somehow, but did he tell you locations or what
No, the
height or?
no, but obviously the most sense would be that it'd be closest to the track as possible, you know, and that just with the fencing structure that's there, that would probably be the most difficult. And that's kind of the theory behind the shrubbery that I brought up, being put on the wall, and then our signage would go above that, and that would fill that gap in there to try to absorb. But
I've watched something, I think I shared that video, and
yep,
it was 100 feet of shrubbery
yep,
deep that actually makes a difference for sound. So I mean, 3 to 5 feet
yep,
probably wouldn't
yeah, I don't,
Wouldn't-
yeah,
wouldn't help, according to that acoustical engineer. So yeah, so I'm guessing the eco wall that would absorb is probably, you know,
Yeah,
if we can't do earth.
yeah, we'll definitely try to find out a price and
Yeah.
see what that looks like. And
I'm thinking the aluminum is just gonna balance it like the fence that's already there. Most likely,
yep,
so,
yeah, we talked about that too. Once we saw that price per square foot, we know wood's gonna be not not as expensive as that, and then wood will also do some absorption, so. Yeah, we just wanted to
yeah,
know,
options.
cross our Ts and dot our Is, so.
So would the wood be like above the current fencing or like
Yep.
inside the fencing?
It's inside, it'd be near the racetrack, so there's a cement wall that encloses the racing surface. Okay, and behind that cement wall, there's dirt that's been built up to hold the wall up and keep everything in place and grow grass and stuff. And then behind that, where that comes down to the ground level, let's call it, okay, is where the posts would go, and then we would have posts going up, and then the wall would start at the top of the top of the wall. That makes
The
sense.
cement or the metal, like the.
Yep.
fence?
Yep. So it'd be above the fence, yep. Yep, we'd get up probably another 10 to 12 feet above the fence that's there now, around the corners. There are a lot of racetracks that have that, and,
Yeah.
they sell, they make,
Sponsorship, yeah.
yep, they sell sponsorship and to help set up, for us, it would be, probably the first 4 or 5 years of sponsorship would probably be to go right back to paying for the project, which is fine. That's all good. I mean, it's just part of the deal. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mark, has, your group been considering also what the maintenance of these various options, what the maintenance costs would be?
Right. Well, again, I'm assuming that we would be responsible for the maintenance, okay? And that's the way we're approaching it anyway. So, for example, if we go with the wood option, we know that X number of years, they're gonna have to be replaced, and that'll be a part of our long-term planning, just like we do here within our county. We make a short-term plan and a long-term plan and a wish list and all those things. So, that would be part of our long-term planning and stuff, the maintenance and fixing them if somehow one broke or the wind took one down or something like that. So we have some resources within our group that are qualified to do a lot of this type of work, with, um, we have one of the top bridge builders in the area in the state that understands how to put things up that don't fall down and can take our climate and then we have a number of people that are professional earth movers, it's what they do for a living, so we're lucky that way that a lot of the labor part of it will be handled, which we all know is a major part of the cost. So hopefully we can do most of it for the material cost. We'd like to, try to get this ironed out to where we can kick into phase one in this spring, and get a part of it up. And I hope everybody knows or understands that it's going to have to be done in phases just because of it's a cost. But, once we get the project rolling, then so.
Coach, I had a question about the base of the berm. How wide are you expecting it to be?
Base of the berm.
I mean, you're gonna build a berm, right?
No, that was one of the options,
Okay.
was to build a berm, but aesthetically, that's probably not,
Well,
I don't
I guess my concern, what I wanted to lead into is that, for a big part of the racetrack, the real estate right outside the fence
Yep.
is used, starting all the way from the horse project,
Yep, no
going
doubt.
all the way around to the
Yep.
track. And then on the west side, there goes your parking.
Yep. Yep. No, yeah, no, 100%
Okay.
supervisor. We, I brought that up because it was brought to us as one of the potential options if you have room to do that. And we're pretty tight with space down there for that option. So, if we can improve it, that's obviously what we're all trying to do, trying to make an improvement to directing and absorbing and, that kind of thing. So.
Any other questions? Thanks so much for coming.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for looking into it. All right, so we can move on to 5B, which is discussion on sale of land for childcare center. We did receive a staff report as well. Okay, Jenna's gonna come up and to speak to it.
Okay, good evening. As mentioned, there was a report from the county manager's office that was provided to you via email last night. There's also a printed copy in front of you. Wanting to introduce an idea to the committee, following interest that was expressed by a member of the community that is looking to build a childcare facility and is interested in a space or one of two spaces available next door here to the government center. And knowing that childcare has bubbled up as one of the major challenges in our community, I think really state and nationwide, but in particular in Dunn County. And we have a few members of our childcare action team here that will speak more in detail on that need. The two locations that appear to be viable and are of interest to the interested business owner who is here tonight, we'll also invite her up in a little while, are included in the image in the report. Again, right next to the government center here, and then a second option kind of across that service road that leads to the neighbors of Dunn County. The need is roughly a 2-acre lot for the plans, and upon further review of both lots, option 1 is does have a utility easement involved, and therefore the limited buildable space is about 1.08 acres. Based on the assessment of the lot that was considered further west for that larger development that the county was discussing earlier this year, the cost per acre is about $87,000. We would estimate that the option 1 piece of land would assess at about the same rate. So for 2 acres, about a $174,000 value there. What we are looking for thoughts from the committee on is if there would be consideration of a partnership model with the interested business owner that would offer the land at a low amount, and then in turn allow us to partner with them to receive priority in childcare placement of Dunn County employees. So really kind of trading that like one-time value of the sale for more of a long-term benefit and really a recruitment tool, a retention tool for our employees. I did include in the report an example of how the childcare shortage has and can impact our workforce and really our bottom line. So the example in the report includes a registered nurse at the neighbors of Dunn County, for example. If they needed to extend their parental leave by even just 1 month, the cost to fill those shifts with a county RN for overtime would be about 9,600 for just that month. And often when we are unable to fill with county staff, we need to hire contracted pool RNs through a contracted agency that the Neighbors works with. And that average rate is about $85 per hour for a contracted RN. And so that monthly cost could go upwards of 14,000, 15,000 in a month. I provide this example just to kind of illustrate how the value of having this access to childcare can add up to the value of the sale of the land if we were to sell it at the assessed value within possibly even just a few years. And so again, understanding there are many options here that the committee could provide the guidance on pursuing as far as full price sale, not selling the land, and there's the whole range there. But what we are looking for tonight is guidance from this committee on if there is consideration in exploring this partnership further. And I think if you're okay with it, I would invite the interested business owner. She can introduce herself to kind of explain what she would be looking to do.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks for having me tonight. So I'm Jessica or Jess Wayne. I live in Menominee, south of Menominee with my husband, Jason Wayne. He is a farmer and we have 3 boys. We've lived in Menominee our whole lives pretty much. And so I really am just looking at bringing a childcare facility into Dunn County. I'm new to childcare. I've been a registered nurse for 15 years and have worked with all kinds of people through that, but really looking to bring a childcare facility into Menominee. Really wanting to focus that on quality care. I know there are other daycare centers that are doing a great job locally, and that's wonderful, but we've seen that the need is really there. And so wanting to bring that here. And my idea is to have it be play-based with a lot of nature involved, and then also be able to keep those staff to child ratios low. So that's one of the things in childcare that a lot of teachers end up getting really burnt out is by taking on so many little kiddos under their care. And so I'm hoping that my facility will be able to lower that rate than even what's kind of required by the state. I'm looking at possibly a phase 1 and phase 2 for the building, or possibly just building the whole thing, just kind of going through financial, what makes the most sense. And so with the full picture, the full building, I would be looking at hiring in about a 27 FTE with full-time, part-time employees. I would be overseeing it myself and then having a director, possibly an assistant director, but for sure a director, a cook, and then all of the teachers as well. We know that, again, childcare is such a need in this area. And so just really hoping that I'm able to bring that into Menominee. So, yeah. Any questions at all?
I always
Supervisor
ask
Bueller.
questions. I didn't quite understand the part as far as registered nurse. Is your facility, would it have a registered nurse on call or there or at the Neighbors or where?
No, so the registered nurse part would be different. It's not part of the facility. It's kind of a nice marketing point, though, for me to be able to market to families saying that I am a registered nurse. I hold credentials as a registered nurse, and that I would, take in health and safety and all of those kind of regulations because childcare is so heavily regulated, but I know regulations through my time in healthcare. I've been in leadership in healthcare. So I would be able to talk and come at it from that point, but it wouldn't have, a registered nurse wouldn't be required, if that makes sense. So it would be strictly with children. I would potentially be able to take on a few special needs children, though, with a little bit higher needs than possibly some of the other facilities in town, but I would have to look into that. I'm not exactly sure on the regulations for that.
So does the state say what your ratio is to teachers and kids, whether they're infants to what? 5
Yep.
years old?
Yep, absolutely. So I would be looking at 6 weeks up to 10 or 12 years old. So depending again on the size of the building that I decide
Wait a
to
minute,
build.
did you say 10 or 12 years old?
Yep, so it would be have full-time children, and then I would do a before and after school care program. So that's
Oh,
another
okay, I
need.
get it.
Yep, need that's needed in the community is that before and after school care. And so that would be for the older kids. So, 5 years and above. But it would mainly be for approximately 60 to 100 full-time children. I would also offer part-time, but full-time slots.
Okay, with your current FTD,
And that would be
27.
approximately, yep.
Could be up to 100 children.
Yes, a little bit more than that with the full building. Yep.
So is it a big thing in the childcare that you have kids the same age in one room or one area,
Yes.
big room, or how does that
So
go?
typically, the infants are considered 2 years and under. And so for like infants, well, now it's 18 months, but about 2 years and under, it's 4 infants to 1 teacher. The state did just pass one where once they turn 18 months, it can be 7 infants to 1 teacher. Then once they're 2 years old, I believe, it goes up to 8 infants for 1 teacher, and then it kind of goes up from there. So there are strict regulations that I would have to follow for the number of teachers that I have. I would have some aides as well, or float staff in the building as well. And then also with the building design, you have to have a certain amount of square footage per child inside, and same with the outside space. So all of that I'm working through and have plans being processed right now.
Town of Springbrook didn't have kindergarten for me or share time, so a little distant. I have to ask a lot of questions.
Did you take a nap in kindergarten? I did, and it was a
Well,
half
know
day, I
they didn't
think.
have kindergarten for me.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
maybe
mean,
first grade.
Yeah, I know. My naps came, never mind. Being silly.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, if I can just speak to the example provided with the RN is just an example to illustrate the impact on Dunn County as an employer.
Oh, okay.
So an RN working at the neighbors, if they needed to be gone an extra month from their maternity leave because they couldn't get their child into a daycare facility,
Right.
the cost of that ranges between about $10,000 and $15,000 for even just a month. So trying to show that the value of a partnership could supersede kind of the value of the one-time sale of a land.
Yeah.
Well, even I understand the need.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge need. Parents, I've just started an in-home daycare, kind of in the interim right now. And a lot of the parents that I'm talking to and that are coming to tour at our house are expecting, and they're talking with the other local daycare facilities, and there's a year-plus waiting list for infant care. So it's the primary care needed is for infants because it's only 4 infants to one provider, one teacher. As the kids get a little bit older, that comes up a little bit in numbers, so the need isn't as much, but there is also a high need for that before and after school care. In my plans for the building, I would have an open, I call it like a play area or gym. It wouldn't be a kind of the gym we think of, but an open room so that during the long winter months in Wisconsin, the kids also can leave the classrooms and go and have some kind of play in an open area. I'm also thinking, and again, I have to look into all of the regulations, but thinking about possibly renting that space out or utilizing it for community events. It wouldn't be a huge space, probably about the size of this room, but birthday parties, I know there's always questions on where we can host little kids' birthday parties and things like that. So that part I'm not quite confirmed on if that's going to happen, but it's just one of the ideas, and that space will be there, but the renting of it out is just an idea. I really want this facility to be community focused, and to bring more of the community and the parents and the family focus into the daycare centers. A lot of the ways that it goes now is that, you drop your kid off, you go to work and you come and pick them up, which is great, but really that partnership with the families and the parents is needed even more so. And these kiddos are our next generation. And so having, again, that quality staff and place for them to go and be safe is really what I'm aiming for.
Yeah,
Supervisor Score.
okay, this building you're building, is this gonna be on private land that's gonna be bought, or is this gonna be on county land that you're gonna be renting?
I would be looking to purchase the county
Okay.
land. Yep, of one of the two lots that we're looking into here. I believe it's on the sheet. I don't know if you have that. But yeah, I would be looking to purchase and then build. I'm looking to build either about 5,000 square foot building or 7,500 square foot. Again, it just kind of depends if I build it all at once or build it in a phase 1 and phase 2. The phase 1 would have everything included. It would just kind of deduct 4 classrooms. Phase 2 would have an additional 4 classrooms in it.
So do we have to have it appraised again and all that good stuff?
There is a process to be followed, and which is why we're kind of seeking guidance from the committee on if you would like us to continue on this path. The first option shown in the photo would require a rezone and subdivision of an existing lot. There's also what's called a planned unit development that we are sorting through as far as what that process would entail for amendment with the city. So there are a number of steps involved in option 1. Option 2 is currently part of an 8-acre lot, but roughly 8 acres, and that would require subdivision, but it is not under the planned unit development classification, so little
All right,
less
well,
here.
okay, so she was interested in having this childcare. What if there's other people that want to do the same thing? Would we have to make bids on that? Or are we just gonna let this one person just be involved and don't worry about bids?
Mhm. I think the unique piece of this is that this is someone looking to build that is willing to partner with the county to allow us to get a benefit out of it. And certainly if there's others interested, we would have to navigate that within legalities there. But at this point, it's a fairly unique opportunity for both the county and for Mrs. Wayne.
I just had to ask stupid questions.
No, absolutely. And I know we've been talking a lot about the need. We do actually have very recent data and a few folks here, if you'd be open to hearing from them on explaining a few of these flyers that were handed out ahead of the meeting.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Well, I can start. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Becky Albright, and I'm currently the Deputy Director of Human Services upstairs. But prior to that, a few jobs ago, I was a director of an early learning center licensed for 250 children. So I'm super excited about this possibility that is presenting itself to us for many, many reasons. So I am here as a co-chair of the Child Care Action Team that we currently have going, and I'm here with my friend.
Hi, everyone. I'm Garrett Zastapil. I'm the Regional Community and Leadership Development Educator with UW Extension. And I have the opportunity to serve as co-chair of CAT with Becky.
So we formed that action team in an effort to address the child care crisis that is here in Dunn County. And we are here to just talk a little bit about that crisis and also to show our support for this one possible solution. So you have in front of you a handout that shows and talks about the latest community health needs assessment, and those are done every 3 years by all health departments, and that helps us identify what the community's top health priorities are. So this information from the latest health needs assessment shows that the number one need in our community of Dunn County is childcare. It's having access to childcare and it's having it be affordable. The second page that has the 25 rankings listed shows you that there were 25 total health priorities ranked. And again, the number one ranked out of 4 of these cycles of doing this community health needs assessment showed that it was childcare, and that outranked mental health needs, which is quite significant for, again, just Dunn County. So I'm guessing this isn't the first time that you've heard that we're in a childcare crisis in our community, but we certainly hear it a lot, especially in our Department of Human Services. We have about 110 employees just in this one team that I'm a part of. We hear it from our staff because we have a lot of younger staff with families and younger children that are currently in daycare. And we also hear it from all the families that we support in our Children and Families Unit, our Birth to 3 team, our playgroup teams, all of our teams are talking about this. So one of the stories that I did get permission to share is from one of our very own social workers, and she's part of our team in the Family and Children's Unit, and her title is Foster Care Coordinator, and she currently, with her husband right now, has 3 children, all under the age of 3, in daycare. And what do you suppose she's paying just for 4 days, not even 5 days a week of daycare? $696 every week just for 4 days. And she had to ask to get that 1 day off and not be considered full time, which is usually a strict requirement. So she's having a hard time. She and her husband having a hard time, even though she has a great job with great benefits, making ends meet. So this possibility that we were just presented with could help not only be an economic driver for Dunn County, but also for retention and attraction of other qualified staff. So that's just one of a bazillion stories I could tell you from one of our social workers that we currently are employing.
If you're interested in kind of more quantitative hard numbers to help understand the problem, there's the back side of this sheet, which has results from the initial childcare action or the initial Health Done Right community health needs assessment. So we see 2 in 5 Dunn County residents see childcare as being very expensive. And it's difficult to find centers for early childhood education. So Dunn County is what's considered a childcare desert, given the number of young families and children who are here compared to the number of licensed and regulated providers that are available. This data was an initial kind of insight into what's going on. Through the Child Care Action Team, this fall we conducted a larger survey specifically of families in Dunn County. You have, I forgot to put my big draft watermark over it, but just a 1-page summary that gives some kind of key highlights of what we learned from families here in Dunn County. So of the 290 families that took the survey, we know that they're missing work because of childcare issues. A provider is sick, especially if you have a home provider who is a one-person show, and that's causing significant disruptions in the workforce. And so as we think about Dunn County, both the government as well as the county as a whole being a good place for us to work, to live, to raise a family, it's really important that this crucial infrastructure exists here in the state or in Dunn County. And then the other thing was that we had participants say that they're considering reducing hours, they're giving up promotions, they're looking at changing jobs or relocating because what they have for childcare doesn't match with their work life. And so there's an economic development consideration for this as well.
And that was a really good lead into Adam Akla is here. He's our economic development director for the county, and he can speak to that lens for us.
Thank you, Garrett. That was a very nice segue. So again, I'm Adam Akala. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Dunn County. And tonight I'm asking the committee to view childcare not just as a family issue, but as a critical piece of our county's economic infrastructure. Tonight, this could set the stage for a partnership with a private developer to build a new childcare facility. And this partnership and project represents a strategic opportunity for the county to directly address our #1 public health issue and, along with housing, a major workforce challenge. As a note, I just received this at this meeting, so it's really exciting that we have some new data, but I do reference a few things on the other community health needs assessment, specifically that it does cite a lack of access to childcare or unaffordable childcare as our single highest priority health issue here in Dunn County. And that ranking isn't a suggestion, it's a top result across community surveys, second data analysis, and coalition feedback on this particular report. From an economic development perspective, the shortage is a major barrier to our growth. Currently, the assessment shows that childcare costs in Dunn County consume nearly 43% of a median household income for a family with 2 children. So the numbers that were shared of $700 for 3 children, it's eating into people's bottom line and their ability to spend in our local economy. It's also significantly higher than the state average of 28% of that median household income. Furthermore, we have fewer child care centers per capita than the state average, with about 4 centers per 1,000 children compared to the state average of 6. The shortage forces our residents to commute out of the county, often as far as Eau Claire, just to find care. That's time and money leaving our community. Worse, it forces skilled workers to leave our local workforce entirely if they can't find a facility with space for their children. And when families are forced to choose between a second income and caring for their children, our local businesses lose access to talent and our families lose financial stability. So in the 3 areas of retention, we have folks commuting for childcare. And if they can find a job close to where the childcare exists, we might not be able to retain them as an employee. Attracting, if we're hoping to attract skilled workforce and for the jobs that our current employers are creating, and they can't find childcare to move to Dunn County, we might not be able to attract them. And development, we can find employees within Dunn County if we can give those dual parent households access to childcare to get that second parent back out into the workforce and working in our local economy. So all 3, retention, attraction, and development, would be affected in this. So by partnering on this facility, the county isn't just helping out. They're actively investing in workforce retention and attraction. We're solving a problem that 42% of the survey respondents cited as a major burden, and specifically stating that it's difficult to find centers with openings. Oftentimes, when it comes to issues that are complex, like housing and childcare, we ask, what can we do? The report has some employer opportunities here on the bottom, which are really great suggestions, but not always levers that government have to be a good partner in these things. But this number 3, create or partner for on-site/near-site childcare, is exactly the partnership that's being kind of proposed tonight and looking for direction from this committee to explore. So it's a tangible opportunity for the county to partner and work towards a solution to our county's childcare shortage. So I urge you to entertain this opportunity as a necessary investment in our county's economic future, and not just solving a single problem, but having a ripple effect across the county's economy. Any questions at all?
2 things always catch my ear. Number 1 is affordability, and the other 2 is investment.
Mm-hmm.
So on the investment end, I have to ask, what's the taxpayer of Dunn County investing? How is that compared to the investment of the city of Menominee? Or how does that compare to for childcare? Or how does that compare to the investment for our major employers, 3M, Stout? You know, how are those companies investing in childcare? And number two, affordability. Who determines what's affordable? Are we doing a financial dive on people to see what the childcare cost for them should be, so that it only reaches 26% or 20%? I mean, we're at 44. So how do you determine affordability, and what other community members are investing?
Yeah. So on the affordability standpoint, I think there are lots of ways that you can kind of determine what affordable would be, and whether that's looking at our area median income and setting a percentage of that you'd like to target for a particular project. That's often how specifically like housing developments take shape. To qualify for a lot of the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority programs, the housing cannot be more than 30% of the homeowner's income. And so there are ways that you can kind of create formulas that would allow for a certain level of affordability that's expected. And so that could be something that the committee discusses as far as like what we are looking for in terms of affordable childcare and what that looks like to be a partner on affordable childcare. There are also, I think, opportunities if the numbers cannot work within that to work with a developer. And I think having a local developer is a real big advantage in this case, where we could partner a little more closely to make sure that the numbers are looking the way that we expect them to look for that affordability. In terms of investment and kind of what other companies and things are doing, unfortunately, the state is making it quite difficult for companies to get involved directly in childcare and housing. The way that our childcare and housing tax credits are currently being interpreted by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation is that housing and childcare investments need to be made as capital investments. So say 3M, a factory that makes widgets, must build housing or build a childcare facility and run that facility for it to be qualified for Wisconsin tax credits. They also must need to make that housing or childcare available for the sole benefit of their employees. And so it's a really inflexible option. And so a lot of our industry has not found a clear path into childcare or housing investment at this point. The Wisconsin Assembly on October 6th actually passed a fix to this bill that would allow them to contribute to third-party developers or to community revolving loan funds that focus on childcare or housing. And those would be qualified investments for the Wisconsin tax credit. So as far as private industry goes, it's a little lackluster right now, but it's because the state is interpreting our legislation in such a way that kind of puts them in a box. Public entities, UW Stout, there aren't a ton of ways that a nonprofit or a not-for-profit organization can partner on housing, aside from things like expertise and pipeline. So Stout has a childcare program. It could be a good pipeline builder into employees for Jess's facility. And along with CVTC, we could have some of the associate level degrees as well as some of the bachelor's level 4-year degrees and potentially master's level that could be good employees if they had the correct employment opportunities. Governments, a lot of times it comes kind of from a situation like this, where if they own the land, they can be a partner on the purchase price of the land so that it brings down the overall costs of build. And so then in the end, they're able to charge lower rates than they would if they were paying full market rate for the land. And so there are kind of flexible ways, but the biggest mechanism I see that the county has is the availability of the land and the ability to flex that purchase price based on many of the things that Jenna shared and that Garrett shared here, with the impact that it might have on our bottom line should an employee be missing work because of this. And I think one of the things that stood out to me on this is the number 86 down here for scheduling gaps undermining shift coverage. That's about a third of the survey respondents if we're taking that. And so that could be a third of our Dunn County employees. It could be a third of our employees at 3M that are experiencing that. And so the before and after school care that's being offered with this particular facility, I think is a major asset that we are being presented with here. Does that answer those questions?
Well, yeah, the very last part answered the question that how does the Dunn County taxpayer get involved in this? And the Dunn County taxpayer gets involved in this by what we sell our asset for the facility. Now, you want the facility to be successful, they have to meet their cash flow. So if you have affordable health, if you have affordable daycare that ranges, I don't know what the range would be, but you can't have all low income and and it'd be nice to have all high income, but that ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the price of corn ain't really good enough to build a daycare. But I'm sorry. But I mean, it's a great idea that we've talked about for years and years and years and years for our employees. It's just that we got to make it so person that wants to step out on the limb and do something, has got a chance to survive financially.
Yeah, and if we're looking at a $187,000 price tag on this, is that better coming to the county and being $187 that we can do a project with? $187,000 isn't going to build a childcare facility, but it could make a childcare facility a reality if we're able to bring that price point down to something that's reasonable or partner on it entirely to be able to make it a reality here.
That's what I want to know.
Yes.
Right on, right on. Thank you.
Is that a question?
Price for?
Why is it so expensive for a parent to have their child being watched by someone else? Who makes the call on that price tag?
Yeah, for new childcare facilities, at least when you're kind of setting up your pro forma for what it's going to be, what it's going to cost to purchase the land, build the facility, have all the equipment, furniture, fixtures that need to go into the facility, you kind of get that final price tag on it. You divide it out, you look at how many kids you can support and what the market will support as far as price point. Because if you're charging far too much, you're not going to fill your childcare facility. And if you're charging far too little, you can't make the numbers work. But you also have to keep in mind that a childcare facility is competing oftentimes with other part-time employment, such as Quick Trip, Culver's, large chain organizations that are paying high per hour amounts. Culver's, I think, is around $20 an hour now. And so you do need to be competitive in that space and be able to pay your staff effectively so that you don't lose them to those bigger chains that have a lot more backing. And so you do need to pay competitive wages. And so it has to lie somewhere in between the construction cost, the land cost, the furniture, fixture, and equipment's cost, and your ability to pay your staff a competitive wage. And so it's a pretty complex formula that all goes into it, but that is one of the major barriers for childcare right now is retaining their staff.
Yeah, I can share. We had an extension colleague in Indiana who did a study of rural childcare facilities, and she found that profit margins are around 2 to 3%. So it's not a business that people are getting into to make a whole lot of money. And that's, not making any additional investments. Like I think about like the fridge breaks or like we want a new piece of playground equipment. That's just rent, staff, supplies, heating, keeping the lights on.
So this question ties into that very well as let's say the assessed value is $200,000 for easy math, and you divide that out by the next 10 years. If this is, there's a lot of moving pieces with this project. Is after that 10 years is up, is there, what happens after that? But at $200,000 of assessed value, not appraised value, divided by 100 kids is $200 per kid per year. Divide that out by months, that's $16 per month per kid. I think with 500 employees at Dunn County, most of them having at least one kid in the ages of needing it, I think Dunn County employees' kids could fill this facility up. Is where's that happy medium if there's a 2% profit margin of, is there enough profit margin if some of this land value is subsidized in a way that it brings savings to the Dunn County employee for the next 10 years, for example, that there's enough of a profit margin to keep that facility going with how much they have invested in a facility, payroll, everything like that. Just spitballing numbers here, and then what happens after that 10 years? Or what is the savings that the Dunn County employee would have for this? Because there's that piece of it, but then there's also the piece of, almost every month that we have an overtime spent on just one Dunn County employee, not even just an RN at that facility, but of one of the 500 employees. That happens probably more than you'd expect. That is where that savings comes in on that initial value too, but just like a breakdown of kind of what the plan would be for that contracted 10 years or 30 years or 5 years, that sort of thing.
And I would just say that is kind of what we're looking for guidance on to continue on this path and exploring that. We would be working with legal counsel to negotiate a purchase agreement, and that is very much what would kind of spell out all of those pieces and would come back to this committee before they would consider forwarding to the full county board. So still quite a few steps involved, but just looking for a thumbs up or down on if we should continue on this journey.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if it's a sale just for daycare, I mean, everybody knows we need daycare. Great. Both locations are great. I take it the one is part of the neighbors right now.
The option 1 is part of the lot that the neighbors is on currently.
But either location is great. We all know we need daycare. It was just a sale. Awesome. A little more on this partnership deal. Now, are the county employees, they don't get a discount for their kids to go there though, right? They would have to pay the full rate, whatever the rate would be.
That is part of the discussion and negotiating some sort of an agreement with the business owners. At this point, to ensure that they would be able to have enough of a profit margin to continue. I mean, at its minimum, we would be looking for priority placement for our staff. That does only mitigate the availability concern of the childcare challenge. Affordability is still very much a concern on the table. Absolutely.
Well, that's what the next question leads us to space. I mean, you don't run a daycare at 80% just to wait for a Dunn County employee to put their kids there. So, I mean, how is that going to work out? I mean, you don't run it. You got to have the space in order to have any other ones there. Just like the healthcare center, Dunn County people are supposed to be the first there, but if there's no beds, they have to go someplace else. It's not like the healthcare center runs, empty a room just for a Dunn County resident happens to be coming in there.
And there are many other larger employers in the western chunk of Wisconsin that I'm sure you could share examples of that you've shared with us before that are doing this successfully. So there's lots of models to choose from that have already proven, hey, let's replicate that. That was a great idea, or let's not copy their mistake. So we have lots of models to choose from. This is just the initial discussion about it,
Right.
but there's great success stories out there.
And Dunn County has a great resource with family-friendly workplaces, and Neil Klein as well, who has set up kind of some of these models.
Right. I'm just saying, you'd have to have all this stuff figured out before I would support anything that would be then a straight sale. And then how long would that actually take place? Is there a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year? I mean, it's a private business. What happens in 2 years? They say the heck with it and we're over here. I mean, is that going to be transferred to the next owners, or how's this all going to work? So those are the questions I got to have answered before we actually negotiate on a reduced price, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and a purchase agreement would address a lot of those things. A city has the ability to do like a developer's agreement if they've got tax increment financing involved in a project. But the county doesn't really have that mechanism, but a purchase agreement, say Jess makes a boon out of this and in 5 years is like, hey, I have enough money that I can just wipe my hands clean of this and I'm going to sell it to Red Lobster. Then we have a county subsidized Red Lobster. So a purchase agreement would be something to mitigate some of those concerns where you could write in first right of refusal for purchase. You could write in things like that where the county would have some protections should the industry change entirely or the private operator leave.
What kind of zoning do we need to deal with? I mean, I see it's zoned PUD right now. I don't know what kind of zoning daycare facility would fall under.
Yeah, we would be looking to rezone it to commercial.
Commercial,
Yep.
okay.
I will say the lot, that the second option that's labeled number 2 there, that 8-acre roughly lot is zoned as commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it would be fairly consistent with our zoning and shouldn't have trouble with the plan commission. Yeah.
So I've made note of all of the points that you would want to make sure are covered within the purchase agreement. If there's anything else on that note that you would like to provide guidance on, that would be great.
Anyone else?
Does the builder have a preference between these two parcels?
Mhm. Yep. And I would add too, because of the utility easement, that does limit the buildable space quite a bit. I don't know if that would impact the overall value of the land, but it does kind of limit the possible uses of it, and it seems like it is a good fit for this project, while there are many steps involved in getting through the PUD.
So does the 1 acre, so does that limit, so the utility, so would we not sell the whole or just the part that?
We would
buildable?
sell the whole lot, which is about 2 acres, but the buildable area, and that would work through permitting and all of that, would be a total of like 1.08 unofficially. We've been working with our county surveyor on that. They'll be working on a certified survey map to confirm those pieces, but it does limit, I think, if there's another interested buyer, the buildable spaces.
We know that
impacted.
there's enough staff for this, or is that? Because I think that's probably part of the reason childcare deserts exist, is maybe the staff.
That's really good point. I mean, that's besides the building.
No, you have to get your mic.
I should know better. Besides, finding the location and the building, the next biggest piece of this is staffing. I think we're in a really good position being with this close to UW Stout. They have a great early childhood education program. CVTC also has a program. We're not that far from Eau Claire. I've already had people reach out to me for jobs and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that is a big piece, but I think that we're in a really good position here in Menominee.
I would second that in saying that I get calls almost daily from all the area colleges and tech colleges looking for internships from DHS. And when I went to Stout to get my teaching degree, we were always crying for placements to do also the student shadowing, all the different pieces of that program. So perfect location.
Yeah.
And a great opportunity.
Yeah, I do know Wisconsin, they just changed the age limit to 16 and above as well, which they would not be the main teacher in the classroom, but at least then the high school, we could have some of those students come over and help after school as well, which would be great for them.
So I would agree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Just in
yeah.
general, yeah, I think it's a great idea and it's a great
Yeah.
use of that land. I just want to make sure everything's covered and if we have some kind of agreement, that's all.
Right, I had the same question about something happens,
Mhm.
you know, and the land gets sold, like, and it becomes a Red Lobster. Like, how do we avoid that was one of my questions. But I think Supervisor Score's question about transparency or, you know, does this need to be competitively looked at? I don't know how that would be. And also, like what is the county, kind of getting, or that would, make up a difference. Because those will be questions everyone asks.
So yeah, when we had looked at, sorry, Randy. When we had looked at the sale of that other parcel before, and even with the transfer center, we do not have any requirements to put it up to bid. We can work with independently with people to do that. We can put it up to bid. We could put it on the open market. So we did look into all of those options. And if you remember, the last one was kind of a direct negotiation with an individual.
So at this point, just looking kind of for a vote, I guess, on if you would consider exploring this further, and if you have any specifics that you would like to see a part of the purchase agreement. I have, duration, what happens if the business vacates, and all of those things, but anything else we are happy to take, and if you want to call, we can chat.
So do we need to jump to item 7, or this is just to go forward?
I would say, so this separate from that request. This would just be giving us guidance on exploring this partnership and working on a purchase agreement and pursuing the steps that are needed with the city. I would also say 2, it'd be nice to know if you have a preference on option 1 or option 2. Again, there's kind of a mutual preference, I guess, on option 1, but looking for your direction on that front.
Make a motion.
Yeah. So this one isn't an action item. This is just discussion to
Got
give
it.
some guidance. And yeah, so the clarification, that second item is asking for and we'll get to that, but that is purely asking for permission to actually move forward with creating that parcel, because it's gonna be a multiple month long process. And I think that's something, whether we pursue this option or not, it provides us with a parcel that would be zoned and available. So that's why they're 2 separate questions.
Well, then, I don't need to make a motion, but I would like to make a comment.
Okay, yes.
I think we're heading down a much better path than we did with workforce development. So there, I
Okay.
like the people we're dealing with. I like the idea.
So does anyone have a preference for 1 and 2? Like, should we go down parcel 1?
One.
Okay, so
One,
we will
Yep.
suggest that, and then you have our questions for the purchase agreement. So I'm guessing, please go ahead with this and keep
And,
pursuing it.
we have the corporate council start writing some wording so that we can make sure that they are gonna make it a child care facility.
Yeah. Is there anything else you need from us? But it sounds like, please proceed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to speak on behalf of Jess, but I believe she's appreciative too.
Okay, anything further? Otherwise, we can move on to 6A. Thank you. Mhm. Is the fair,
I thought everybody was here for my exciting presentation tonight.
they're starting to leave? Oh, shoot.
Tough crowd, Mark, tough crowd. I'll give the Fair Board presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Oops. Yeah, I'm just waiting.
Don't worry.
All right. The agenda tonight, I'll give a quick update from the Fair Board and move over to facilities and parks, operations project, the fleet and monthly financial reporting. Dunn County Fair Board updates. Judging fee changes. This is very convoluted when it comes to many animal judges, non-animal judges. Previously, they're getting paid mileage based on their location, home address to the Dunn County Fair, plus an hourly wage. The Fair Board moved to increase this to a flat rate. It wasn't much of a change based on how they calculated the average cost per judge, as well as it really makes a difference on quality animal judges, quality non-animal judges, and putting an investment into there. This puts it towards the top of payment for county fair judging, and I think it'll help retain great animal and non-animal judges at our fair, and not much of a cost increase, but yet they'll probably our fair judges will probably spend more time there and put that money back in the fair. So the whole board really thought that was a good idea. And headliner band times locked in. Last year, some of these bands were ending, before it seemed like the night got started. So we locked them in all, Wednesday night, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thursday night is a big headliner, Chris Cruzy, location of him performing to be determined based on answers to a few logistics that we still have. Friday and Saturday night, 7 to 11, and then our Sunday afternoon show actually moved up a half hour. So exciting things happening for that. The weekend schedule of headliner Chris Cruzy, Friday and Saturday night racing is moving to, with some large shows bringing out of state racers to both of them. A couple in the works, so I left out the exact organizations that the Fair Board is talking to and racing's talking to on that. And then Sunday, the demo derby. And then I will retire from my secretary position over the past few months on approval for this board and approval of the county board for Ann Byer to be appointed to the secretary position on the fair board. Moving on to facilities and parks staffing, our maintenance crew currently is down 1 FTE on medical leave for a duration coming up now through most likely the end of the year. So we are down a bit that way. We had our first big snowstorm on Sunday. Took care of it right away. That way it wasn't all ice when everybody came in on Monday. Custodial staff currently fully staffed, one part-time custodian on medical leave filled with a temporary LTE over at the neighbors, working very well. And then our office staff is still currently down. Our 3/4 or so FTE equivalent, and we are onboarding as of now interdepartment transfer from another department in the administrative background side after the 1st of 2026. So looking forward to that, but we are maintaining fine through the month of December here. Brady's done an excellent job taking on some of the billing roles that our administrative specialist did. I've covered the fleet mostly and gotten more in tune with that, which situations like this give you an opportunity to take a look at how things are being done on more of a personal level of maybe we could adjust how we're doing some of this and improvement. Judicial Center RFP is in final review and going to be sent out this week. Knock on wood, but there's just a lot to it, but with all of everything we went over yesterday for just a few tweaks of some verbiage, and it's going to be sent out. So that's an exciting thing. So thank you to the county board for moving forward with that. And we're looking forward to getting that out and getting started on that project. Just a quick update on the fleet. We had a few weeks ago where again we were short on a car. Individual who normally uses their personal car hit a deer, and a lot of times that truck that's allocated, it's kind of in the fleet for all of our facility staff to use. It's kind of allocated towards the one I run around in, but just making that a bookable vehicle even as a last minute thing on our facilities calendar where individuals can from other departments can book out another vehicle, or that would be one of the few vehicles that actually is all-wheel drive. So for a home visit for a DHS employee, a snowy day, it might be able to take that. Or we had a DHS employee that was looking to move a dresser for one of their at-home inpatients. Makes it a little bit easier and a little bit easier to drive than those 3/4 ton pickups that she used that day. So looking to do that. And then with taking over the fleet and maintenance stuff, just making maybe some improved changes to our booking and maintenance software that we use for them. We use a really good software for transit. We already pay for the subscription. It wouldn't take much to get our fleet over here on that instead of getting a notification at the end of the month that a car needs an oil change. Then it's a little bit more disengaged the way we see notifications on when things need it these days with the Microsoft or the Google Form Planner that we use, Microsoft Planner that we use. And then monthly financial reports, looking good. We're almost 7% to the good, looking through 11 months on our different facilities here. And this should even improve through December based on some of those big one-time costs that we got at the government center towards the beginning of 2025. So we should hit around 7% to the good on that through 12 months for all facilities unless something major goes out. So Brady's been working on a few different heat pumps in the neighbors, and So if there's any of that, you can hear about that at the neighbors committee. But all in all, we're sitting good, and 8% to the bad on the parks, but we put a lot more effort in one-time efforts this year. You know, a lot of $2,000 of Pine View was to get rid of 28 stumps, that sort of thing. But even factoring in 6,000 on that, it's still 105,000 to the good through 11 months for the year. And the more that we do this park maintenance, the less we'll have big one-time costs. So hopefully that was not too much to talk about tonight with everything else we had on the agenda.
So how long does the RFP go out for? What's the deadline?
It's all in my notes, but it's around, there's different stages of it. Let's say, for example, I can't put it on the screen, I would assume, but let's say it went out on 12/1. Then on 12/16, there's a walkthrough, and then questions are due a few weeks later. Then final RFP due a few weeks later from that. And then the panel gets together and another small period of time, and the decision is made. I believe it was around the end of March.
And have some of your leaf, right? For the energy costs, I noticed they were under budget, or was that because it was 11 months and December hits us? Or is it some of your temperature adjustments and things?
I don't think we've had too cold of a year yet. I think that's helped. But also getting these thermostats I say that one's on cool right there. But, you know, we locked these down a little more before, and then got a lot of questions to open them up again. But I think that really becomes a better energy savings factor when it comes to the winter versus even the summer, when talking to Brady here a few months ago. But the energy savings with a better system versus what we have over there is going to be astronomical, I think, with how inefficient things are, how stuff
Cost of fuel.
that just how inefficient things are, especially on the cooling side, with how inefficient a chiller is versus some of the new technology, because most of that's from 1990. And if you just look at how furnaces are built now versus then, I think we're optimistic and excited. The other thing with all of this is when this can get installed, and there's going to be some moving pieces with that too, with how far out construction companies schedule out, and with this being a building that's inhabited 24/7, and this needing to be built while the current air conditioning or the current heating system is still needing to be turned on. So there's going to be some moving parts in it, but we're looking forward to getting the ball rolling. Learning a lot while doing this too.
When the RFPs come back in, does the county hire an engineer to see that all the proposals are that nobody has skipped part, or what do we do to protect ourselves, as a county, that the RFPs are what we need?
The panel that we're going to choose, we're looking to have a background in a lot of different avenues. one of them being a background in that, one of them being a background in, corporate counsel, one of them being a maintenance tech that works on this. So looking to check all those boxes in the
So-
panel.
The procedure would be that you're gonna pick a panel to receive the RFPs. And then do they make a recommendation to Dan? And then he comes to facilities and facilities goes to the big committee, the not the board, but the executive committee.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say big dogs, but I held that.
So, yeah. So technically through our purchasing ordinance, yeah, that committee will go through, they'll make their recommendation. And I shouldn't even say recommendation, right? So this is a public bidding process. They score the RFP. So they are going to score based on, some items that are kind of outlined within that RFP of, how your company profile, essentially how, good of a record you have, right? How you're going to do the work, different things like that are scored quantitatively by the group without access to the costs. So they go through and they do that entire scoring. And then after that happens, then the costs are brought in and points are allotted based on the cost.
We want to give the job to people that can do the job and get the job done.
Right. But once that's done, the score comes out and that's who gets awarded.
Okay, so it doesn't go to the executive committee.
Right. Well, so it would come back to me, right? Because at some point you would have to sign a contract. The other component of that is we will then need to do a parameters resolution in order to borrow the money in order to do that. So that would certainly go to the executive committee and the full board in order to make that final approval for the purchase. But the board will not pick this company versus that company or even no. Well, yeah, I mean, we'll tell you, but but that scoring, as much as the scoring is a public record, the most qualified bidder is who we are required to award the project to. We can't look at that and say, yeah, these two are really close and I like this one more and I picked this one. That's a good way to get sued. So we have to pick that most qualified.
Are we picking a general contractor and then he goes out and hires people to do different parts of the project?
Yes, likely. The other component of that is we're looking at including as a part of this, as we were discussing this, as a part of that project where we as a county will actually be procuring the assets. So buying the heat pumps, buying the different items.
Right.
Because we don't have to pay taxes.
So the county does that.
Right. So the county will buy them as opposed to having the contractor buy them and then put them in. So they'll tell us what to buy and then we'll buy it, but
So
they have to follow our rules.
You're going to be
do
a
that.
contact from those guys saying this is what we want to get bought, or Austin is?
Our procurement position, when that gets filled.
Yep.
That would take care of that, but that's a savings of a lot.
Okay, so when we had put out there that we're expected to spend 9.9 million, we haven't borrowed that,
Correct.
and we won't borrow until we get back the RFPs.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So what was approved was the budget at 9.5 million,
9.5.
which is what allows us to borrow. And then we would do the parameters resolution, which kind of redefines that. And that's going to be more based on an actual number. And we don't expect it to be at 9.
Will we build in, hopefully we'll get,
Probably about a 10% contingency in the project, if that's where you were going.
no, for federal, like Inflation Reduction Act
Yeah.
money, like how do we build that in, or how do we know?
Yeah, so that'll be kind of the big question as it relates to when we get to boy, I feel like I might be getting off agenda, but I don't know what the agenda item was, but just a staff report. All right. So um, so yeah, as it relates to that, once it's built and operational, then we can apply for that benefit. So that is essentially like taxes, right? So it's an April 15th deadline type thing to get paid out from the previous year and all of that. So we'll look at that, and once we know that, the percentage of the total cost is kind of what we can look at. And so that'll be a part of that borrowing formula where we look at that and say, all right, we're going to borrow this much up front, and then we're going to pay back this much this year, and then we're going to make a big payment in this next year because we're going to get our refund. So that's one option of going about that. The other option is to only borrow enough in order to pay that, have fund balance cover what would then be reimbursed by the other option. Just two different ways of going about that same money. Certainly levels of risk involved in one or the other. So, but we will be looking at that with our bonding council. Yep.
Do you have your team already selected, or are you still in the process of getting your team put together to do this?
We're still in the process of it.
We have till like
That doesn't-
January 18th, I think.
Yeah, that one's got a wider timeline than, it doesn't have to be at the time of getting the RFP sent out.
Are you volunteering?
So, you're saying that's a wider timeline, so that means that it's not important to get this, on moving, right? So you gotta look for applicants to be on this team for your special ops kind of deal?
No, I think we're specifically reaching out people that to area experts that can help us out in that. So we've discussed some of that internally as to where we go. I mean, that's a part of that is just we're also looking for somebody to donate their time and read 10 if some of these RFPs come in with 3-ring binders that are 2 inches deep with all of the answers to the questions. So there's a bit of a time commitment. So we would be looking for, they say, some experts in the area that can look at those and have been through these processes to tell us what to look for. Yep.
But I mean, we don't have to keep it all in-house, right? We can try to get somebody from industry.
Correct.
That would be positive, I would think.
So we'll likely look at people similar to us that have been through that. We could look out into industry. The problem is if they're in industry and they're bidding, they're not eligible. So
But you could look at another county that might have gone through the same procedure and bring down somebody.
county, city, school district,
know, just like,
university, tech
you know,
college, yeah.
Yeah, like you did with the broadband group.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's where we're looking is, who's done this recently
Right.
and who can go tell us all of the things that they forgot to do.
Exactly.
And
Thank
forgot
you.
to look at. Yep.
All right. I think we can move on to item 7. So this is the piece that we need to get the parcel 1 rolling.
Okay.
So, because it needs to go through zoning and so does anyone want to make a motion? Or does anyone have clarifying
Well,
questions?
that's great. I was gonna make a motion
Okay.
before I would. I was gonna make a motion before. I'd like to go again,
Mhm.
but, have in there that, parcel 1 or option 1
Mhm.
be a priority.
So to approve to subdivide
Yeah,
parcel one and request rezoning. The
Correct.
commercial.
consider action. Rezone to commercial
Subdivide.
and subdivide.
Okay, all right. Is there a second? Okay, so Supervisor Bjork and Supervisor Prochnow. So now any questions or discussion?
Yeah. So you got this mapped out on lot one. I take it the north line right after that's a wetland, so we're not gonna put that into that lot. We're not gonna take it from road to road to road. Or what are our plans on actually zoning or surveying that's off?
Yeah, so I did that on the GIS map
Yep, I
prior
see
to
that.
talking to the county surveyor.
You draw like I do.
So that line is continuing the property line off of the, so if you look at options 1 and 2, that's the same picture. So that's following that kind of the same line as that other one. So yeah, it does kind of keep that wetland within the neighbors of Dunn County. A lot of that is water drainage and
You can't do anything with it,
utilities.
so.
But the other side of that is we wanted to maintain a little bit of land there in case we wanted to put in some trees or some sort of shrubbery in order to impact the views of the neighbors as it relates to that. However, in speaking with Carmen at the neighbors, they would more likely love to watch kids playing out in a in a playground. So that was actually something that didn't come up in that conversation. Again, is there's a lot of advantage for both the kids and the residents of the neighbors to have a connection there.
You'd have to have a retention pond there then?
That's all the stuff that we have to figure out. So,
Would have to.
yeah, so that's really why we have this action item, so we can go draw this line and go figure out all of the work that needs to be done and reaching out to the city. The comment that I got back was, at a minimum, it'll be complicated. So, so.
And you said there's some easements on the south side of this or on the road side, or where are they at?
So yeah, on that line, so technically that road that goes down on I'm gonna get my north and south right, south side
Yep.
of that property. So that road that comes into this building
Mhm.
is County Highway OH. So it is a county highway, which means it has a 30-foot easement to it. And then you have a utility easement that runs essentially right around that kind of wetland, that low area there across the kind of the northern edge of that property that cuts it off a lot. So that's where you lose a lot of that, is that County Highway OH, and the top is where you end up losing a lot of that space. What we did come to understand today is you can put a parking lot on top of that utility easement. So it does. So Jenna talked before about it being like 1.8 acres total, but 1.08 usable. So that's where you get some of that. So I say lots to be talked about there. That road on the east side is not a road. It is a driveway.
Private driveway.
It's a private driveway, and then you have your county highway that goes around the other side.
Okay.
So certainly some things that we need to look at, and that's why I say moving forward with this is, whether we were to do this for the childcare or do anything like this in the future, this is work that's gonna likely kind of make sense to be done. And
Yeah, just survey it all to make sense instead of,
Yep.
yeah, okay, that's what the question.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions, discussion?
oh, there's your picture. Jenna shared it. This is a little bit more professional. Not an official certified survey map, but so you see the pinkish lines along there is that setback from the county highway, and then you can see that utility easement on the top there. And then we would maintain this remnant that is on the other side of like the entryway into there, that the county would retain that as just a random remnant of a parcel. So, It'd be a lot of work to add that into the other parcel, so. Yeah. I don't know why they drew such crooked lines when they created it to start with, but there's a story, I'm sure.
There always is.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Nope. All right, so we have a motion to approve to subdivide the Dunn County Government Center Parcel 1 and request rezoning to commercial. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any against? Nope, so that passes unanimously. All right. Number 8 is to appoint Ann Byer as Fair Board member with secretary. Anyone want to make that motion?
I so move.
Second? York, all right, any discussion?
Yep.
No, okay, Mike.
Ms. Byer, I believe, is a sophomore at Eau Claire. And the Fair Board made us an effort to attract, and try to get a younger person on the board. And one of the things was registration at the fair, being pretty up on the computer registration, like that is a real thing. And also it gives us a younger perspective. So, I was thrilled that she was interested to do it. And her father is on the fair board. And I think it's been stated that there's one vote for the family. And I'm at the fair every year, observe a lot of things. And one of the things that they had on their Sunday noon was the graduation of the 4-H members a couple of years ago. And also a highlight of the Dunn County Fair for a lot of 4-H members is a big water fight Sunday morning. So you get kids that have been in a water fight Sunday morning, and then you bring them up and congratulate them on their career of being a 4-H member. Well, most of them look like 4-H kids on the 4th or 5th day of the fair, except this one girl had on this nice dress and she looked very professional. And I had no idea who she was. And I asked Scott on the committee, who's that girl? And so that's my daughter. And he says, well, having her, put on a dress, a shift type thing, whatever they were. And I said, really classed up the act. I mean, it really did. And he said, well, it was her mother's idea. Well, it was a good idea. So, I mean, we've got a very adult thinking young lady that we're real pleased to have.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor of appointing Ann Byer as Fair Board member?
Aye.
Any against? All right, so that passes. So our next meeting, so is the 12th or 13th a little earlier because of item 7, like getting through we have to approve something else?
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would be as we would put together a purchase agreement and with this individual, we try and get that together to bring that to this committee, and that would allow us time to get that to the January county board meeting in order to allow them. So, and obviously that's kind of moving fast, right? There'll certainly be contingent upon rezones and different things like that need to be done. But they're also working through identifying financing for their project, and so they kind of need to get that stuff going. So that's the reason for the speed, and we do that. If things aren't ready, or if the committee isn't comfortable with that and at the January facilities meeting, then so be it. It happens, but that was the reason for that.
So that's a Monday or a Tuesday.
Yes.
All right. What do people,
I'm
you're out of the country? Okay. Okay. Well, there's 4 of us. So.
It'll be zoomed.
So Monday or Tuesday, does it matter? It's a little easier for me on Mondays, but
Sunny.
rub it in. Okay, so we'll go with January, January 12th at 5 PM for our next meeting. All right. So thank you all. We can adjourn at 6:50. Thank you, everyone.